Let's continue now our rolling coverage of the political events in Canberra because they are seismic. I think it's a fair description. In a few hours' time, Labor MPs will decide if they stick with Kevin Rudd as their leader or install Julia Gillard as the next Prime Minister of this country. One of those backing the push against Kevin Rudd for a change in leadership is Gary Gray. Gary Gray is a former ALP National Secretary. These days, he's an MP, a Labor MP in Western Australia and a frontbencher in the Rudd government. For a few weeks now, he's been privately critical of the mining tax in particular having a big impact in WA. Last week he went public calling for the issue to be dealt with by August. He joins us now. Gary Gray, welcome.
Good morning.
Why does Kevin Rudd need to go?
I think first things first, the Prime Minister, having spoken with Julia last night, made a decision, an appropriate decision, to call a caucus meeting this morning for 9 o'clock. I think that's a courageous decision. It's the right decision to make. It allows the caucus to deal with the leadership issue quickly. And if these things were dealt with, it's always best that they were dealt with quickly. And therefore, the caucus members will make their decision on who will be the leader of the Parliamentary Labor Party. I'm conscious that that decision is a personal decision and a personal choice for every single caucus member. And I'm conscious of how difficult that decision is. For me, I have no difficulty in supporting Julia's challenge, in supporting Julia for the position of Prime Minister. In my view, the challenges that face the government are deep, and it's necessary to have both a fresh pair of hands, fresh eyes, and a different approach to the management of government. And so I applaud the Prime Minister's courage in bringing this forward in the best and quickest possible way. And from my own personal position, I'll be supporting Julia.
The Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, seemed pretty clear his message to the caucus through that public press conference last night, and to garner some kind of popular support, I guess, to remind everyone that he was elected by the Australian people, not by Australian Labor Party factional bosses. I mean, what right do the factions have to decide that Kevin Rudd should no longer be the Prime Minister?
I don't think factions even exist these days. Certainly, this isn't a factional matter. This is a personal matter for every single member of caucus. Every single member of caucus will make their decision as they feel appropriate. No factional strong-arming, no arm twisting, no demands being made by external forces on the party. And for that matter, a decision made in the cold, hard morning of Canberra, when people need to look to the future and not be concerned about what factionals think.
This has been described to me by one Gillard backer as a traumatic event, an horrific experience for the Labor caucus that you're all about to go through. But you're betting the House, really, on the fact that the salesman is the problem, not the product. Now, you've been particularly critical of the mining tax. A new leader is an opportunity to dump that tax. Is that what you want?
I don't want to take this into a discussion around public policy matters. At the moment, this is not a judgment around public policy matters. It's a judgment around the leadership of the Labor Party. As a member of the Parliamentary Labor Party, I have an obligation to pursue what I think is the right course. And in that context, I have no difficulty at all in making the judgment that for the future, I think the party is better in the hands of Julia than staying where it is.
Why? I think people listening will be wanting to know why, because on the policy front, which is how most people sort of look to their Prime Minister and hear from them, they see that Julia Gillard was Deputy Prime Minister. They know she was a key member in every major policy decision of this government. Why will it make a difference?
It'll make a difference because it's necessary to recast how the government is both looking at its political challenges and executing those challenges. I think one of the great strengths of Prime Minister Rudd had been his single-handed courage and determination in dealing with the challenge of the global financial crisis. But equally, I think that some of the governing protocols that were necessary at that time have become almost the standard way of the Prime Minister and his office operating. And in that context, it is necessary for the caucus to assert its view. Now, I'm not about to make the judgment.
So get rid of the one-man band is what you're saying.
I think it's necessary to ensure that the caucus has its say. I'm not here to be on radio to campaign for one person or another. You asked me who I would vote for, and I can only be honest, transparent and clear about that. And I've come on air to make clear that, in my view, the Prime Minister's decision to call a caucus ballot is a courageous decision, and one that we should seize and to make the decision quickly. For me, I'll be voting for Julia.
And just very briefly, Gary Gray, we're almost out of time, but you are a former National Secretary of the ALP. Are you worried this could be seen as panic in the electorate, or do you think Julia Gillard will get a bounce?
Now, I think this is seen as decisive action. In the past, leadership spills in the Labor Party have lasted months or years. They have caused massive internal rifts and division. They've hurt families. They've torn apart whole branches of the Labor Party. Let's deal with this quickly. If it is necessary to deal with this quickly, let's do it right away.
Will Julia Gillard win today?
I think Julia will win today, but I don't know if that is the view of my caucus colleagues. I sincerely hope it is, and I think the party will be in good hands, and I thank Prime Minister Rudd for all of the work that he and his family have done to help get our country back on track.
Gary Gray, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Federal MP, the member for Brand in Western Australia, Gary Gray.